This is going to be a fun lesson as we get to generate some elements on our page using JavaScript. So right now we hit start, we get check combo, we've updated the inner HTML. And we also need to run the ability to generate our gameplay area. So we're going to create a new function, call it maker. Go down here where we've got a little bit more space. So function maker. And this is going to generate our inputs. So using JavaScript, we're going to use document, create element, and this is how you can create elements dynamically. You need to specify what type of element you're trying to create. So this is going to be an input. I'll console log out that element information first, so you can see what it looks like in the console. So we're generating an input, and we can also attach it to our elements. And we selected that element with the class of game into an object called game area. So using append child, we can append to it that input. Let's try that out. So hit start, and there is our input. I also want to attach some attributes to this input as well, because this is going to be a type numeric, where we're going to set an attribute. The attribute that we're setting is type, and the type that we're going to use is a number. Let's try that out. So refresh, start, and we've created an input that's a number. And you can see that's being reflected up here as well. We also want to take that element and set up a max value for it. So the max value for it is going to be 9. The min value for it is going to be 0. So let's try that out and just make sure that that's being added into our element as we're building it out. We can also have hidden values into it as well. So L, and we can set this order to be equal to 0. And I'll show you what we're going to use that for later on, as we need to have several options here for combinations. Set size here as well. So within inputs, we can also specify a size, and we'll set the size to 2. And you can see we generated with a size of 2. And we actually only want to set the size to 1. So let's do that. Let's update it. And we can update it with the style, so it's a little bit easier to see. So we've got a value of 6. Let's use that element and attach a style to it. And the style that we're going to use is width. So this is where we can set a pixel width for that particular element. Let's set it to 30 pix. And this is a string value that it's expecting. So now it's at 30 pix. We can make it much wider if we wanted to as well. So you can see that's quite a bit wider there. So bring it back down to 30 pix. Or actually, we probably need a little bit more. So let's do 40 pix. So there's our elements with the ability to move up and down. Also, let's create a default value for it and set the value at 0. So our default value of it is 0. So you can see here within the console the element that we built out. So it's got a number of attributes. It's got a number, max, min, size, style, and also a value that's being added in there, all dynamically using JavaScript. So the next thing that we want to do is we actually want to build out 4 of these. So take this, indent it, and let's create a for loop. So setting up a for loop, we'll use x, and while x is less than 4, and we'll take that order number and we'll replace the 0 with x. So now when we hit start, we get 4 options there for adding in those combinations. And we can also apply a style to that as well using the element. You can use class list or set attribute. Either one will work right now because we don't have any classes. We want to add in a class, so I'm going to use set class list, and I'm going to add in a class, and I'll just call it num. And then we'll go into our style sheet and we'll generate the class for that. And we can do it right directly within the page. We don't need to link out to a style sheet. And here we can set a font size and see what that looks like. So hit start. So there's our numbers there. And we might need a little bit more width. And as well, in addition, we could set the width using our JavaScript as well. So there's our numbers. We can move them up and down. The player can also go in there and select them and write them, type them. And we also need to check to make sure that we've got a maximum. So when we do the check combo, we're going to make sure that the value that's been entered in here is numeric, and as well that it's 1 digit long. So all of that is still yet to come. So for now, try it out for yourself. Build out your own input values dynamically using JavaScript. And you can even set even more if you wanted to. So we could have 4, we could have 5. So it doesn't actually matter. We're going to make this application fully dynamic. So build this out And coming up next, I'm going to show you how you can attach the randomness and we can check to make sure that these values are correct. And that's all coming up in the next lessons.